All right, welcome back. We are COMP301 in the summer 2020 semester at Centennial. It's Linux operating systems, and we're week 5, part 1 of our broadcast. We're going to do more bash scripting this week. So we're going to continue from where we left off. I'm going to spin up my VM. So here it is. And you can see I've got Fedora. I'm going to start that off again. I'm also going to show you VMware a little bit today for those people that are interested if I have time. We'll see how it goes. I want to cover the main things though without getting too much off topic. I know I want to give you some more things too, but I'm just concerned I don't want to miss the most important pieces. All right. So hopefully you guys are spinning up your VM as well. And please remember to rename yourselves. I think I have to enable that also in security. So please, if you haven't had a chance to rename yourselves, that would be good. All right, here I am. I'm going to log into Linux. And one thing I wanted to point out from last week is I know what the problem is now. I got to say that. I know what the problem is. And the problem, actually, is beyond what I thought it would be. It was like really dumb what I was doing. So let me show you this this stuff. So if I bring up terminal, so again, if I press the Windows key and type in term, there we go. And if I look at my host, if I go ls, and if I go to documents, and if I go to workspace 3, you can see now that I have, oops, sorry, not workspace 3, workspace 2. I have an extra script. So I have new script, my script, and new script 2. I want to show you, I want to do a cat of my script, just to remind you guys. So my script was very simple. We just did addition in the first one. Okay. And then we also have new script. So if I do cat new script, then you can see that we did other things where I tried to do an alias. I know why it didn't work now. ls-al, it piped it into a temp file. And then what we did was we said, okay, well, for I in a range of 1 to 5, echo the value. We did that, and we incremented the value b is equal to b plus a, and so on. And then we said your value is, as an example, and we were done, right? So your value is whatever the value is, okay? And that's why this kind of worked, because b has its value. And if I was to run a script, remember we talked about running script. There's a few ways to run the script. One way to run the script is to go source and then new script.sh, right? And it runs it. And the other way is it says enter a value. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it adds up everything to 15. Yay, nice, right? First of all, does this make sense? 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 is 6, and 4 is 10, and 5, right? Makes sense. That's a series of numbers. Always check your work to make sure. And then I went ahead and I was testing that thing where I wanted to look through a file. And when I look inside of a file, I want to take the file contents and use that as input. Duh. I was thinking about how to do it, and of course, I'm going to show you this one now. If I do a cat of new script2.sh, now it's slightly different, and I want to talk about this. So one is this idea of using something called shop-t. I'm going to go look at that in a second. So let's look at man shop-t. And again, it's a bash command, and what it does is better way to actually show you this. Again, when any kind of bash command like this, I recommend looking online for the documentation. So bash shop-t. So what is shop-t? It's a built-in bash reference manual, right? And it says toggle the values of settings controlling optional shell behavior. All right, that's what I'm doing. And the settings can be either those listed below, or if the -O option is used, those available with the -O option to the set built-in command. Okay, so these are all the different options. -S, enable, -U, disable, -Q, suppresses normal output, -O, restricts the values, right? So those are the different options. So if I go back to this, I said shop T -S, right? -S, enable, right, that's what it means. -S, expand aliases. So what this does, expand aliases, it says, hey, I can use an alias in my script, like lull, like I talked about before. So I said, hey, alias lull is equal to ls minus al, and if I was going to use this a lot, I can just go lull, and I want to pipe lull into temp, like normal. And then I want to show temp by cat temp. That's what I want to do there. And then I want to echo -E for enable special characters, \n, right? And then j is equal to 0, right? So I start off with a value, j is equal to 0. And then this is where I was going wrong. I was like, wait a minute. I want to do a for loop, but actually a better structure for this would be a while loop. And you know, after reading some of the forums and stuff, I thought that might be best. So it's like cat temp. And after I read temp, like here, I pipe it into my while command. This is interesting. When you pipe it into your while command, then when I read A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, right? I read every word, right? Every word of the temp file, and for every word I echo it. I echo the last character. Let's see how that works. So if I was to try that. So again, let's try that same syntax is what I'm saying. So if I say cat temp, and I want to pipe in, so the pipe character, not this character. This character actually, sends the input somewhere or sends the output somewhere. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying use temp as input for this while loop, right? This while loop here. And while I'm reading, from the temp file, right? Let's read just A, the first one. So I read A. A is now a variable, right? And what I want to do is and I want to echo A, the value of A, okay? And then done. And you can see what it does. It says, okay, cool. I read through, right? And while I'm reading A, I cat temp, pipe it into while, and it automatically outputs everything, okay? And that's not what I was really looking for, okay? Again, let's take a look at that cat. So if I go this one, it says somewhat similar, except I have this bracket that I didn't use. Okay, it's not a big deal, but that's something. Echo I, the value of A is what I'm looking at. Doesn't matter. I just used A instead of I. All right, and then I added things up. Okay, so that's all I've done. I just added. I'm going to talk about this in a second. But really, if you think about this, I have an open bracket here, and then I'm piping temp into it. Well, what if I did the same thing? What if I just, I have another, file, right? Let's say with numbers in it. Let's try this out. So if I go, let's make a touch. We'll call this file numbers.txt, okay? And then we'll edit it. So we'll say code numbers.txt. And you can see numbers is empty. We'll add some numbers. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the numbers. Save it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I do cat numbers.txt now, we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the numbers. Okay. NL numbers.txt, we get numbers with a line in front of it. Remember, NL is like number line. Right? So what if I took, if I say cat numbers.txt and I piped it into a read command, read A, right? Then what is the value of A? Let's echo the value of A. And I get 5. Does that make sense? I have a bunch of numbers, right? I'm reading. I read each and every one, right? And I keep changing the value of A every single time, okay? So the last value of A is the number that I'm getting from the file. So actually, numbers.txt is the file that I'm using while I'm reading. So I'm reading this file and I'm piping it into this read operation, right? If the value of the file only had one number, for example, if it only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of 1, 2, 3, 5, it only had 1. So let's take those away. So numbers. And if I took the other values away, so let's say, for example, I said, well, I don't want the numbers file to have anything else other than one number. 1, the number 1, all right, as an example. And I did the same command, which is this, and then echo it. Now, wait a minute. How come my number is 5, right? How is that possible? I mean, I did cat numbers. I did read A. So how come the number is 5? Let's try this again. So if I said, instead of cat numbers A, let's do cat numbers. First of all, did I save? That'd be really bad. Code numbers.txt. See, code, if you don't save it, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And I bet you. No, it's been saved. I thought I saved. Yeah. Okay. So the numbers only has 1. Let's do that. Let's go and one thing. Cat numbers 1. It has 1. And if I was to cat numbers and I want to .txt and pipe it into, let's say, read B, and if I go echo B, then I get 15. Oh yeah, because A, B, C, all those things have other things. Let's pick a value that's not been done. Okay, I'll talk about this in a second. Let's read T. Read T. All right. Cat numbers read T. Echo T. Nothing. So what happened? How come it works? It seems to work in code, but it doesn't seem to work here. As an example, I'm trying to read the numbers .txt file, but it's not really piping things in anywhere, right? Look, if I'd had a big long list of numbers and I piped it into a command like numbers.txt and I piped it into something like more, and yeah, then it would work. It would show me all the numbers and it would give me a paging system for those things. And a good example of that is if I go to code numbers.txt, and let's put a long list of numbers now, much longer list. So we'll just drag some numbers, and I'll copy and paste in a second. 8, 9, 10, and let's just do the same list again and again a bunch of times. So let's say it's a repeating list that keeps repeating over and over again up until, I don't know, like 100. Okay, so there we go. That's a big long list of numbers. 10 is at the bottom, and we go through that list of numbers, and I want to do a cat numbers.txt piped into more, right? And you can see now it goes to the list, and if I press space, it's going to let me tab through all those things, and no problem. If I do it NL as an example, numbers.txt, and I pipe that through more, again, you're going to see a line number on the left, and you're going to also see all the numbers on the right. Okay? But remember, why then does that not work? Okay, so I'm making a process. This is the key thing about this, right? So I'm making a process where I set up a number, and again, if I go echo value of t, right now the value of t is nothing. It doesn't even have a value. It's not even 0. It's nothing, right? It's like null. So if I want to read t, right, and I create a process, then it's like I want t to survive that process. I want to extend the process so I can echo it afterwards. So if I did it another way, let's say, for example, I said, okay, I want to cat numbers.txt, right? And I want to pipe it into a while loop, right? While I read, t as an example, then I want to do echo t, and I want to read each one of the numbers. I want to spit them out, and then finally, done. Okay. So then you can see that I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. It keeps reading through each one of these items, and then finally, what do you think the last value of t is going to be? Is it going to be 9 or 10? Let's take a look. So if I go echo t, then the value is nothing. But wait a minute, you're going to say. Didn't we echo t the whole time? I mean, didn't I do this the right way? Echo t? How come I'm getting nothing? What do you think it is? NL, by the way, is for number line, or line numbers. You turn line numbers on when you do it. It's like a cat with line numbers. So why am I getting 0? Why am I getting nothing, actually? That's the better question. Again, Petra, if I can get you to rename yourself, please, just to be fair. Anybody? Guys, it's because of the process. It's like the process is finished. So what happens is, as an example, this t that gets created here, it's scoped. It's a t that's scoped, right? Anything after the pipe character is scoped, right? So again, what we want to do is we want to export this t, right? Or include it as part of the process. Now here on the line, it's difficult. But in a file, let's say we're going to write a new script to do this exact thing, right? So let's clear, and let's do a new script altogether. So we'll say touch. We'll call this new script 3.sh. Okay? And we'll do code new script 3.sh. This is some good review for you guys, and then we'll move on to some other topic. Okay? But again, what I would do is shebang, right? Shebang / bin bash. Okay? This is the first line. Always, this should be the first line of your script. And if I ask you in your quiz this week, what's the first line of your script? This is the one. More than anything else. This is always the first line. This is the first line you should do for compatibility purposes. And then something like, your author's name, which is me, the date, which is today's date. Typically, this is the date of the script was written. So this is like, I was going to write August for some reason. My mind is already in August. June 22nd, 2020. And then maybe the script name, which should be the new script 3.sh. And sometimes what you see is you might see this script name actually first before anything else. That's kind of a very common thing. But what we want to do is we want to create almost like a little header. That's what this thing is. A little header that shows, the script name, the author name, the date, and the purpose of the script. Okay, that's kind of what we want. Okay? And then we start the script off. And so we say, exactly what we did before. We say, okay, I want to cat numbers.txt. I want to pipe it into read, right? I want to pipe it in. Look, sorry, I want to make sure that we're not totally cutting out for a second. I know I keep cutting in and out. I do apologize, guys. It's my lovely connection here. Bear with me while we do this. So again, so I read from a variable. I name a variable, named variable that I want to make. Let's suppose the variable is t again, right? Read t. And I'm reading the first value. Remember, it reads the entire line in one value. And then if I was to do this, just read the entire value, I'm going to get the I should get the last value, right? And if I do it all in one blow, for example, if I just did this, right, and then if I was to do something like echo t, right, then you're going to be surprised to see that this number is going to be, and let's say also, let me just start off by initializing t to something else. Let's say we'll just say t is equals to 0. Okay, so we'll set t as 0. Okay, here, and then we're going to get all the numbers from t, and I want to read t, and I want to echo out the last number that I get from t. This should be something like 10, right? The last number is 10. That's my expected output. Okay. Yeah, I'm just pointing this out to you guys now, right? And if I was to, let's just minimize the script here and go back and run it. First of all, can I run the script now? Yes or no? The way it is. Can I? Let me see check marks for yes, I can run it. X's for no, I can't. Can I run the script the way it is right now? New script 3.sh. I'm getting a no. I'm getting some no's. And the answer is no, I cannot. Why? Because remember, if I do a ls minus al, new script 3 has not been enabled for execution. See, the other ones are executable, but new script 3 is not. So I have to change that first. So I'm going to say that, hey, shmod, or shmode, change mode, right? I want to add x executable to new script 3.sh. And if I did this, and then if I did ls minus al again, then I have this, right? You can see that now it's green. Green means executable in this shell, and so we're good to go. Okay, now let's try it again. So if I run the script, so // is another way of running the script, new script 3.sh, then I get 0. What? You're going to say, wait a minute, I shouldn't get 0. I should get 10, right? Because I'm reading it in. Yes and no. And let me explain why no. Because the process is over. Once I do this, once this process is finished, it leaves this process and comes out to this. And what happens is I have a number value for t here outside of here, and a number value is here, and this one and this one stay the same. In order for me to have my read t matter, what I want to do, and this is messed up, is put brackets like parentheses around this script like this. If I was to do this and save, let's run it again and see what I get. Do I get a script error first of all? I got 1. Well, that's weird. Why did I get 1? I was expecting 10. But it's better than 0. But of course I got 1. I'm going to get 1 because I'm not looping. I'm going to read the first thing the first time, and that's it, right? But notice that I actually got a different value this time. And the reason for it is because of this bracket right here. This bracket says include all of this in the same process, almost like putting curly braces. It's really annoying, right? In fact, what if I used curly braces instead of this bracket? So if I did, can I do this? I'm just pointing this out because you might want to be tempted to try this kind of stuff, right, later on. So here's curly braces instead of the brackets. Does it make a difference? Does it even work? And the answer is no, it doesn't like that. It's like, wait, what's this curly brace you speak of, Tom? And there's no curly braces that make sense here for me, right? Why? We're bash scripting. So replace the curlies in your mind with parentheses. If you were to do this and you sit there and go, okay, I want to pipe into this read method, you know, and include everything from here to here as part of that scope, then you're good to go. Okay? If that makes sense. So that is the reason why that didn't work before. Now let's change this to a while loop like we did before. So say if I say while I read T, and I want to output T, whatever that happens to be, every single time while I'm reading it, right? And if I save this and then go back to here and do the same command, now you're going to see that I'm going to have another issue, right? So here's something. What if I took this brace away? So I have this opening brace, right? Read T, and then I took the other one away, and I saved it, and went back to here, and try this out, and it says, line 12, syntax error, unexpected end of file. Line 12, unexpected end of file, because it's listening for another brace, like this, right? Remember? While, read, T, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if this works now. So, ba-bum. Okay, line 11, syntax error near unexpected token, close bracket. Okay, that doesn't work, right? And if I put this on the outside, well, here's another reason why this is not working. Can anyone tell me why this is not working now? Okay, so we put a while, but in order for me to do it now, we need to do a do, and then a done. And then, if we did this, done, right? We could put a bracket here, because that includes the whole thing. And if I was to do that, then you're going to get this. It's going to read through and cycle through everything, and then poof, it's giving you a last value of 9, right? And that worked, right? But if I want to do some calculations, like let's say, for example, I want to say, how many lines did I read, right? Let's take away those brackets. Because remember, those brackets are not necessary. Look, if I take those brackets away and run it now again, no problem, it ran, right? But what if I want to calculate something? For example, I want to calculate B, right? B is equal to 0. And what I want to do with B is I want to accumulate B, right? As in, B is equal to B plus 1, right? Let's try this out. So every time it goes through, it prints the value of T, and then it says, in brackets, B is equal to B plus 1, right? And I want to print out B down here. Echo, something like total. We'll do a minus E here so we can do a new line. Total number of lines read is, and then we will put in the value of B, right? So let's go $B, okay? And if I was to do that and see how this looks, and I would run it, total number of lines read is 0. Total number of lines read is 0 because the process finished here, guys. And once this process finished, anything that was done to B is lost. It's gone forever. Even if I do export B, it doesn't matter, right? So how do I keep this? Parens. Look, if I take a paren there and I put a paren down here like this, right? Paren, paren. Okay, from here to there. After I've done this and echoed it and incremented it, and if I do it again, now the value of B is 99. So I just wanted to point this out because I know it plagued me, and I don't want it to plague you on your assignment, if that makes sense. I'm going to move on now to other things. But I want to show you this thing as a way of doing it. All right, let's close some of this up. Back to the PowerPoint. All right, so it's kind of the same thing with path. If I want to change the path up as an example, right? I have a path, and then I have colon, right? And it's not semicolon, it's colon. And I want to add this to the path. Well, let's see if I can modify the path. Let's see if I can do that. So I go back to my file, not this. I go back to my file. Let's look at my terminal. And I want to look at the path variable, right? You can see that the path variable is this. right? Okay? So I could say that echo path, that's what this is, okay? Echo path. And it shows me everything that's on my path, okay? And it shows me home tom bin, user local bin, user local s bin, user USR bin, USR s bin. So these are all the places it's going to look. Wait a minute. It went to home tom dot local slash bin. What? Where's that? So let's go cd slash home tom dot local. Okay. Where's bin? What? Where's bin? Where is bin? Right? Who knows where bin is? I want to know if you guys know where bin is, because I certainly don't. I mean, look, it went like home tom.local.bin, right? But there is no bin. Okay, so that's interesting. So if let's say, for example, I want to add something to the path. I want an executable file, and I want to be in documents. So documents, I want to add to the path, right? Documents. And I want to specifically say that anything inside my documents workspace 2 is added to the path, right? So I would want to do something just like it says here in the PowerPoint. I want to do path is equal to, I want to add the current working directory to the path, where path is equal to $path : dot. Let's see if that works. So I want to say the path variable is equal to $. Actually, let's just do our own variable. So we'll say my path, before we mess anything up, my path is equal to path, right? And just like it says here, : dot. Okay? : dot. Okay, and now let's echo my path. Echo my path. All this stuff, right? All this stuff. And I want to also see workspace, because look where am I? I'm in PWD, I'm in documents. So where is documents for me in this path variable here? Because it's an important distinction as well. Do you see documents anywhere? Look, anywhere in here. Do you? And the answer is no, you don't. Okay? It definitely did this. It did this, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Right? Okay. All right. So what if, I mean, it gave me, if I, again, did it add the dot to it? No. I want to add something else. I want to add something. So okay, how about this? My path is equal to path plus, and this is where I want to go into it, slash home slash documents, okay, slash documents, home documents, okay, that's what I want to look at, slash. And then if I did this and pressed enter and I looked at my path, let's take a look, right? So I want to do echo my path. So before I mess up the regular path, hey, there it is at the end, right? Home documents. All right, so it actually added to the path, : right? It added home documents to the path. Okay, so that's good. Well, let's try the same thing to the real path, right? I want to add documents to it, right? But not specifically documents, documents slash workspace 2. All right, let's try this out. So I'm going to say path is equal to the original path, whatever the path is, plus : right, slash home. Actually, here, let's just make sure we're in documents right now. All right, so See where we are? Home Tom documents. We have to get this right because that's why it wasn't showing up over here right. So path. Sorry, so I'm gonna make sure it's right. Otherwise, we'll mess things up. We can always change it, but anyways, path is equal to the original path plus /home /Tom /documents /workspace 2 /. And if I look at path now, we're good. Look, home, Tom, documents, workspace 2. All right. And if I do something like from here, the path now is this path. So what if I go home? So I go cd home. All right, cool. Let's take a look at path again. Echo path. Documents is still there. Workspace 2, right? So then I should be able to do something like if I called new script .sh, it did it, right? It was added to the path. It did it. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It calculated how much it is, 15. No problem. It did my script because it was added to the path. Isn't that awesome? So this is the one way of doing it. And why did it work? Hash bang, right? Or bin bash is what you want to put at the top. And what it does, it finds the bash command for this. And I didn't have to put /. I didn't go /. I literally just said new script, let's say new script 3.sh, right? And then bang, right? It says cat numbers.txt, no such file or directory. Total number of lines read is 0. Why? Because it has no idea where new script 3 is, right? Or sorry, where numbers.txt is. Numbers.txt was originally in my my workspace folder. So we need to be more specific. Let's be more specific. In fact, let's read for the file that we want to read from. So let's go back and let's code /documents /workspace 3, workspace 2, sorry, workspace 2 / and I want to look at new script 3.sh. Okay, so here what I'm saying is specifically look at numbers.txt. Well, what if we did a bit of an echo? We said something like, let's modify our script so it's more usable. Echo, and I'm going to say something like, okay, file name to read, right? It's asking for a file name, right? I want to put a I don't want the new line character here. So I want to say -n for don't do new line with an echo. All right. And then I want to read. This is like a read instead of a read line in C#. And then I want to read from the terminal. And I want to read in the file name. Read file name. Okay, whatever the file name is. And then whatever this file name is, I want to cat. So cat, right? $$ file name, and I'm going to pipe this file name into the while loop, right? And do it that way. Maybe that will work. Let's see if that works. Okay, save. Okay, and then let's try that new script 3 again. New script 3, it says file name to read. So ./documents /workspace 2 /numbers.txt. And it says .ments workspace numbers.txt, no such file directory, because I made a mistake. Let's try this again. Because I did that funky stuff with my thing. So again, it's slash, I can just /documents /workspace 2 /numbers.txt. Good to go, right? So you can use variables not just for numbers, whatever, but even for reading. And I think this is an important distinction. All right. So the path, that's why we were left off. We left here because you can modify the current path. Now, if I wanted to modify the current path always and keep all of my script in a specific space, for example, let's say I want to always have my scripts when I start off for the first time. I want to have my own custom scripts in a folder, right? And I want to modify the path so that I add that particular folder to the path. Okay? Let's see if I can do that. So, going back to this, let's exit out of here. And we'll exit out of here for a second. And we'll go back. Remember that the path, it's not going to be permanent, right? So if I go type in up here, if I say term, and if I go, oh, let's run new script 3.sh, it's going to say, don't know what you mean. I have no idea what's happening. Oh man, let's echo the path. Then you're going to say, yeah, we're good. Here's the path. And you're like, wait, my path is gone for my scripts folder. All right, well, what if under here, right, I had a brand new scripts folder or a bin folder of my own. Notice that if I went to cd slash, as an example, bin, right, then there is a bin folder, /bin, right? These are all the different commands that we have. And if I go to bash, right, there isn't a command, but there's a command called bash, right? ls-l bash, right? There's the bash command, right? So bin is where we keep everything, and typically bin is the right thing to call things. So if I do this, go back to my folders, and I want to make a new folder called bin, make directory bin. Okay, there's my directory. It's called bin. Inside there, I can write all my scripts instead of an inside document. So once I test my script out, I know it works, I can put it inside the bin folder and it would work, right? That's what I want to happen. But I need to add bin to the path, right? Bin to the path right away. Okay, so this is my default folder, and inside my default folder, you can see I have this, as before, this bash profile. Remember what we said? Bash profile adds something to the path once. Bash RC runs every time you have a new bash. We don't want to add it there. That's not appropriate. Any new pathing should be here under bash profile. So I edit the bash profile to add bin to the path permanently. So again, I want to say that code.bash underscore profile, and under this, and you can put these anywhere you want, user specific environment and startup programs. I'm going to put it down under here. You may not have what I have, don't worry about it. So I'm going to say modified path. So I'm going to say that path then, right, is equal to the original path, right, colon, and then ./bin, because that is my folder, right? That's the folder that I want to add all my scripts into. Okay, so save. And let's see if I was to exit out of here and run it again, would I accomplish my task, right? So I'm going to type in term, and then I want to see the path. And notice it says usr bin, sbin, home tom. There's home tom. But wait, where is my bin? I don't see that, right? And to test this, let's make a little test program that doesn't do anything. Just echoes hello, right? Oops. So make a new little program, touch. We'll call it hello.sh. Actually, yeah, I can't do that. Let's make it tom.sh. So we'll say touch tom.sh. You can call it your name if you want. And I will say that chmod or change mode plus x tom.sh, and then we'll do a code tom.sh, and go in here, and again, remember how scripts work. Hash bang, right, or shebang, and then bin bash, right? That's what we want. And we want to do the author Tom, if I can spell my last name today, and maybe a date, June 22nd, 2020. And I'm not going to put anything else. Echo. Actually, we'll just echo Tom. It's going to say Tom, right? Or whatever I want. Tom. How about that? Okay. Echo Tom. And I want to be able to run this script from anywhere. Okay. So if I go to test this, if I go ./tom.sh, it's going to say Tom. Nice. But what I want to do is when I go home, right here, I want to be able to just do, you know, again, tom.sh, and it should run like this. See? And we're good to go. And I don't have to use the / anymore because it will find my path. The path, it's been added to my path. My path has been added to. And if I go look at, again, if I look at the path, then what you can see is somewhere in here, home Tom bin has been added. Right? Home Tom bin. Okay? Now, to be more specific, home Tom has also home Tom local bin, home Tom bin, and then all this stuff. So let's go back up there to bin, or to bash rc. So I'll say code dot bash profile. So this is ./bin. So home bin is what I want. Home. And let me make sure it's right. Home Tom bin. Right, because this is where I am. Let's make sure I'm in the correct spot. Home Tom cd bin. Home Tom bin. Right, and home Tom bin is already there. Right, but I want to add it again at the end. Let's see if that allows me to do it. Home Tom bin. All right. So I want to add to the path home Tom bin. Okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, and we'll just run it. Let's just run. The one way to do it is just run bash profile here. So we'll say .bash underscore. Actually. Yeah, ./bash .bash underscore profile. Permission denied. Okay, means we have to exit, and let's go back in there and run it again and make sure that it happens properly, right? Because otherwise bad things will happen. And let's see what our path is now. Echo.path, and notice it didn't work, right? Because, I mean, even though this thing is already here, home Tom bin, you know, as an example, I didn't put that in there. That's just something that's already there, right? And anything between the colon is already there. It didn't work. So let's see why it didn't work. Okay. Well, what if it wasn't home Tom bin? What if it was home Tom scripts? Because that definitely doesn't exist, right? Home Tom scripts. And I saved it, and let's exit and relaunch. We said that every time we start our bash profile, it runs for the first time. All right, and if I was to do this and go echo path, nothing. Well, what if we logged out? So let's go log out. Let's make sure that it's not a log in, log out thing. right? Because remember, bash profile runs once, not many every time bash is run. So here, running for the first time, we're logging back in again. It's doing its process startup or whatever. And now if I run term, and if I run echo path, it added it in, home tom scripts. But notice when it did it, it added it in only when, and by the way, it added it wrong, /home tom scripts, right? It added it in wrong, and it added it in only after I logged in and logged out. Okay. Still, if I was just to run tom.sh, it would run because, in my case, home tom bin has been added to my path already somewhere else. But if I wanted to put everything in scripts, that's maybe a better example for us because it hasn't been added in. I'd have to modify my .bash profile. So I'm going to say again. So let's do it again. So we're going to say code.bash profile. And let's take away this dot. So again, I'm just going to add in /home tom scripts. Save. There we go. And now let's make a new folder. So ls. Bin is there. We have tom in there. We'll make another command. Okay, so we'll make a new folder. So make directory scripts. Okay, there it is. And let's go into our, just to test everything, we're going to go into our documents and into our workspace too. And that new script.sh, that reads the numbers. You know, it basically reads the file and it calculates how many numbers are in a file, how many lines are in a file. So we'll call it line count. Okay, because I added from 1 to 100. It kind of ran 100 lines long, and it started at 0, not at 1, right? So I can fix the script. Let's fix the script first. Code new script 3.sh, and let's start the count at because I increment here. Notice after I read first, I output, and then I increment, right? So we'll start counting at 1, the first line, and then we'll increment it to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter. Total number of lines read is whatever it's going to be, right? But let's just call it, you know, kind of line number or line count. We'll call it line count. Okay. So I'm going to copy new script 3.sh, and I'm going to move it into /home /tom /scripts, right? And see, it goes there, /scripts. I'm going to copy into there, right? But I'm going to copy it as something else. I'm going to copy it as, we're going to call this line count .sh. Okay? And if I go there, line count.sh already has the executable permissions. So all I have to do is like, hey, give me a file. I want to see the line count. Okay. So let's exit out of here now. And to test my theory, let us log out. Because remember, bash profile only runs once on login. Okay. Log out and log back in. Logging back in. Cool. Log back in. I'm going to go here and type term. And excellent. And now I should be able to run line count.sh. And it says file name to read. And we know that line count.sh exists in the scripts folder. So if I do a echo path, you can see that home tom scripts has been added to the path folder. And this is kind of what you want to do too, guys. If you already don't have a home, whatever your name is, bin, right? Then you should do something like this: home Tom, or home your name, and then scripts, something like that, or home your name bin, right? And that way you can put all of your commands, especially for assignment number 2, inside one spot, right? That way you can just run it. Let's get back. So, and sometimes what you want to do is you want to make it so it's official. So LC, there is no LC, right? So what I want to do is create an alias, right? So I can say that alias LC is equal to line count.sh. So if I do LC line count, and then I want to look at a file name to read, so I want to look at that file inside of my documents. So /home/tom/documents. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's try it again. Line count /home/tom/documents/workspace 3, and then slash the name of our file, numbers.txt, and then it says, okay, home tom documents workspace 3 numbers.txt, no such file directory. Why? We're in home tom, so documents exist. Let's look inside there. So can I list documents workspace 3 Yeah, it's wrong. It should be workspace 2. That's why it didn't work. Let's try it again. Line count. By the way, notice that I didn't take in any inputs, right? Why? Because it's not a C++ command, right? It's our own little script, right? So this, we tested here, and then we were to rewrite this in C++. It would listen for an argument, and the argument itself would do all this stuff, this command line stuff. So let's go do it. So file name to read, again, it's /home/tom/documents/workspace 2/numbers.txt. Good to go. All right, so that's how it would work, and you can make your own aliases and all those kind of things. Okay, so that covers path in a very detailed manner. All right. Wildcards are also known as glob. That's just the way they're called, globs. You can use question marks, stars, and so on to do that, and that's totally fine. But let's talk about sequential logic a little bit, where we kind of have this branching instruction. So one of the things that we can do is we can look through, and we can use if and phi. Okay, this is interesting. If and phi. So why if and why phi, right? Instead of like curly braces, this language uses the opposite of the branch. So for example, if the reverse of if is phi. It is if, but just written backwards. Seriously, right? So this is where branching gets a little funny. And here's an example of this. So if statement logic works like this. If you test to see if something works in square brackets, you can say that if my name, so first I read the name, right? If the name, the value of it, is equal to broccoli, then echo broccoli is a healthy choice. Else, here's how it works. If, then, else. You literally have to put the then keyword. Then, else, and then you can put another branch inside here. If and phi, right? If, then, else has to put in there. Now, what if you don't have an else? Can you do an if without an else? Yes, you can. And the way it works is, so let's set a value. So first of all, let's look at the value of a. No value. Let's set a to a value of 10. Okay? A value of 10. And we can say if in brackets, and again, you can say, just like it did before. And again, the syntax is important, but let's suppose I don't use the quotation marks for a second, or the square brackets. Let's just say if $ is equal to something, then do something. Okay, well, this would present a problem. For example, if I say something like, if the value of A is equal to 9, right? Then I want to do something. I want to say, then here's what I want to do. Echo the value is 9. Very specific, right? Okay, I did that. And then phi. Then it says bash 10 is equal to 9. Command not found. Think about that, right? Remember we talked about this before. It's not that I'm trying to make it work. It's just we need to use the proper syntax. So again, let's try it again. If square brackets now, $A is equal to 9, right? Then echo the value is 9, phi, 10 is equal to 9, command not found. Okay, I'm just showing you. If square brackets $A is equal to, now I'm just going to point this out, 9, the actual value, right? Then echo the value is 9 phi. So again, 10 is equal to 9, command not found. We did everything that we said, right? Where 10 is equal to 9. $A being the value. Take a look. Right? $A, if $A is equal to, and then broccoli in quotation marks. Okay. And then in square brackets. Let's try it again. Let's try this exact thing, actually. If you actually go to your PowerPoint and we do one of these, right? Let's see if this works, where we say, we'll read the veg name in here, and we'll say, it won't be broccoli, it'll be something else, like, I don't know, apples, right? So I'll copy all this, and let's paste that in there. So I read the name, we'll say apples, right? And that's the first thing it did, veg name, because it can't copy a long string of text like that. Well, what about if I do line by line? So I say, okay, cool, let's do this part. So paste. Okay, and then we'll do the exact same thing. We'll say then, if then, and just like we did before, we'll just copy all these things in. Echo broccoli is a healthy choice. Sure. Right? So we'll put in broccoli, exactly broccoli. And broccoli, B-R-O-C-C-O-L-I, lowercase. Right? Phi. So let's try it out. So we'll say, if that's true, then it didn't do it because our veg name was apples, right? And it wasn't broccoli. Let's go step up a step. Now that we have that, read veg name, broccoli. Okay, and then do this. Broccoli is a healthy choice. That totally worked, right? Which is what we expected it to happen. But what about this other number stuff? I want to get the value of a number. I got the value of a name, right? So I want to do the same thing. I want to say read A, right? And let's say the value. So let's say the value is 10. And then if, and then square brackets, $A, right? $A is equal to 10. We'll match the same value. Then we'll say echo the number is 10. Okay? Phi, or phi. And then it says, did I do something wrong? If no. Unexpected token then, and it's because of the way that I wrote this script. Because if I'm not wrong, then what I should have done is go to the next line. Let's try this out again, long form. If square brackets $A is equal to 10, value of 10, then well, that's an issue, right? Because I'm checking for a numeric value, but I'm actually getting something totally different, right? But meanwhile, when I typed in veg name, right, and that's something else. Like, for example, if I was to say something like, okay, well, you know, I read A in, but it seems that my script doesn't seem to work. Let's try this out in a script format, guys, because this is kind of making me crazy. So I'll take all this in there. This is neat. And we'll go back into here and we'll write code. So we'll say list. We'll go into our documents. We'll put it in there first to test. And we'll make workspace 4. Make directory workspace 4. Right? And go into workspace 4. And then we will touch. We'll call this thing new script 4.sh. Right? And we'll code it. There we go. And we'll paste. So there's all that stuff that we did before, broccoli, blah, blah. But let's change this. So instead of veg name, we'll put A. And instead of checking with broccoli, we'll check with a number. We'll check in brackets, so 10. And then we'll do the same thing. Instead of veg name, we'll say A. Carrots, we'll just replace veg name with A. And one thing we're missing here is the shebang, bin bash, because I want to kind of make this work the right way, right? And let's see what happens when we make new script 4 executable. So we'll say chmod plus x new script 4.sh. Chmod. I love when I make mistakes like that. Error. Okay, excellent. And / new script dot 4.sh. What's your favorite vegetable? The number is going to be 10. How about that? I'm not changing any of that stuff. It says broccoli's a healthy choice. It worked. So this, the way we wrote it, worked totally fine because 10 was 10, and it worked exactly how I expected it to work, right? If A is equal to 10, notice there's no double equals here, then broccoli is a healthy choice. Let's change this to the number you chose was 10. The number you entered was 10. Very specific. What is your favorite number, maybe? Instead of thing, and we'll make favorite Canadian favorite. Number is 10. However, if A was, I don't know, 5, then echo the number you entered was 5. Pretty simple. Else, well, something like, you know, you didn't enter my favorite number. There we go. Okay, so same idea, but you can see the pattern. If, then, else, and then if, then, else, and is in there. Okay, and let's run it again. So what's my favorite number? Let's try the number that we want. So 10. Number you entered was 10. Let's run it again. 5. Number you entered was 5. Let's try it again. Let's say 20. And then it says no such file or directory. What? Wait a minute. Number entered was... Yeah. What's your favorite number? Number is 10 to 5. And you didn't enter any numbers. What it should say. Okay, and let's make sure we put semicolons because I like to do that. You don't have to, obviously, but you know, I think it's a good thing. Yeah. And let's run this again. Oh. 20. You didn't enter my favorite numbers. There we go. So that kind of script, that's your branching stuff. Okay. So that's this, if and phi, right? We did talk about the for loop already, and the while loop. We covered that last week and a bit of this week. So again, for do done for users for in it's for in and then some kind of range. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different users, and we want to print them out each individual one. It'll loop 6 times because there's 6 elements, as an example, right? And it shows you how to do that. Wildcards, square brackets, can be used in for loops. So again, for file in, again, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Each of these objects are going to be, you're going to look through those, and it says do, and then it's going to pipe into file, more file. That's what it's going to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that works. Again, minus n, don't make a new line. Try to guess my favorite color, read guess. While in square brackets, again, the guess is not equal to red. Not equal. There's your conditional statement. Not equal to red. Then do. Pretty straightforward. Case logic. This is very interesting. Look at case and ESAC. Case is equivalent to switch case from a C# perspective. However, I'd like to point out these brackets right here. Take a look at this bracket. So it goes echo, enter your color, case, whatever the color is that was red, right? If the color in, case color in these selections, and this is interesting, blue in quotations with a closed bracket, only a closed bracket, no open bracket, right? Then echo as in my blue heaven, 2 semicolons, right? Is basically the syntax. Yellow, red, orange, and then in case it's the default case, if it's something else other than this, didn't hit one of these, then echo, sorry, I do not know that color. All right? That's what it does. Enter your favorite color. Makes sense? So I'm not going to go through the example on how to do all this because it's pretty straightforward inside the of your file in here. But this is the weird syntax. This blue open bracket or closed bracket. This is like case colon in other languages. All right? That's what this is. Okay? So, and then there is a tput, right? It's used to initialize the terminal or terminal window display, right? So here's some examples: tput clear, tput columns, all right? And there's some additional things. sh, right? Includes some options for debugging. I'm not going to go through that right now. We talked about the bash rc file. The bash rc file runs every time you run bash, right? So if you want to run bash every single time, then it's going to do this over and over again. Alias, again, remove is equal to remove minus I. It'll change remove to include additional things. And if you want to see, kind of what the alias is, so let's go back to this. So let's say, as an example, man alias. Again, notice it's one of these things where you have to specify which command you're looking at. So let's go back up to the web and look at this. So if I say bash alias, so alias command, right? So let's look, I want to see that documentation. Yeah. Because man pages won't give it to you, right? I want to make sure, here it is. Aliases, bash reference manual. I always like to look at this one. So it talks about aliases and how they work and blah, blah, blah. And you can alias and unalias. We talked about this. And you can use special characters to make it work, right? And if I want to check the alias, right, So let's say, for example, I put in the term alias ls. You can see that alias is actually not just doing ls, but it's also doing ls dash dash color is equal to auto. So alias, so the ls itself is an alias, and you can alias commands. So for example, if I want a command to work a specific way, let's say for example I want that lol alias all the single time, ls minus al, right? I want it all the time. Is it appropriate? I want to ask you guys this question again. Is it appropriate to put it in our .bash rc? What do you think? Check mark for yes if you're listening, X for no. Do you think that the alias lol, right, is something I should put in my .bash rc? Yes or no? Check mark for yes, X for no. I got one person saying check mark, and I'm telling you guys it's wrong. It's wrong. Because what's going to happen, I mean, it's okay to do that, but we want to do it once. I want to alias one time, right? I mean, all I would do is just rewrite it. It's not necessarily wrong, but let's suppose I did that in the bash rc file. So if I said something like code, first of all, where am I? I'm in here. Let's go home. And no. Home, right? Home Tom. And if I was to go to code.bash rc, remember this is something that gets run every time you run the bash command. So you got to really be careful on how this is run. So if I did that, if I said that alias, and I said ls equals to, and just like it said before, like up here where we did alias, and then either a single quote or double quote. So double quote, let's say ls minus al. Let's say I did that. Okay. Okay. And if I was to do this, save it, and then run it, like in a bash. So if I say something like bash, and then if I did lull, actually, I called it ls. Haha. Cool. I should lose the thing. Yeah, it does it, right? So let's try that again and do lull. And I got to fix the ls minus color. It doesn't really matter. It's not permanent. This is more permanent when I run it the first time, but somewhere else, if I was to log back in again, it would reset alias to what it was before. So let's save this one. And if I go exit, and I go scroll up and grab that alias, which is this, copy, just so that we have everything back the way it was, paste. So if I do an ls, everything's back to normal. But now if I was to go bash, and if I do lull, then you can see now I'm getting ls minus al through my bash rc. But what's wrong with putting it inside of bash profile? What if I move this, right, and I save this, and I put this inside of bash profile instead? So again, let's exit, and let's see where we are, and I do a code dash bash underscore profile. And what this is going to do is it's going to put my own, let's say I put aliases here, and I said this is an alias I want to use lol all the time. I don't know. Now in order for me to see this realized like we did before, I need to log out and log back in, but the effects would be permanent. Bash RC does it every time. So if I want something to be done every single time, then I put it there. Like for example, I want to count something every single time I do something, or I want to get the date, the current date, every single time I go to a new bash RC, or say something like for example saying entering new bash, or whatever. That's appropriate to put in the bash RC, right? But here, if I did this properly, And if I did something like lol, then it didn't work, right? Because bash profile is a funny thing. So even though my alias is here, remember that problem that we had with the alias where it only worked when I put on that shop-t value, and then it would work? Remember? So let's go back to that other piece of code that I had. Because if I go to Documents, Workspace 2, and then I did a cat new script 3.sh, or was it new script 2.sh? There we go. New script 2, I had to use this shop-t -s expand aliases, so I did this. Okay, so I want to copy from this thing. So let's let's paste. Let's see if that copy actually worked. Probably didn't, but no, it didn't. So let's do a code shop-t. Actually, what am I doing? Yeah. I want to go to new script 2.sh. Here it is. And I want to grab this line here. I'll show you the problem. And go here to bash profile and put it before this. So, hey, I want to retain all the aliases. That's what I want. That's what I'm saying to do, right? Cool. I saved it. I'm exiting everything. And then now we're going to log out. And we're going to log back in. Remember, bash profile runs one time. Doesn't run every single time. Okay, ran, term, lol, no. And the reason for this is because the way bash profile works, right? Also, remember that lol is not something that was exported, right? So one more time. So code.bash profile. Look at the work we have to do. Dash profile, and then I want to alias lol, and I want to export lol, right? So that's for one alias. Let's put this in here. Okay, so expand aliases, lol is equal to this, export lol, and let's try it again. It's a silly alias, but let's exit and restart. Log out. So we've gone through, we've done everything, we've exported, right? We've done everything the proper way, and we're coming back in the second time, and you'd like to think that this is going to work at this point. No. But somehow, if we put it in the bash RC, let's try this for a second. So first of all, let's get it out of there, right? Because we want to put something that doesn't work. Bash underscore profile. So the path thing worked, right? Path, no problem, because this is a global variable, and we modified a global variable. But adding a global alias, not happening, right? And notice it also ran bash RC the first time. It says, hey, if -f, if bash RC exists, then run it. That's what if phi means. Run it, right? Here, this didn't seem to work. But if I was to put this, cut this out. And let's go code bash RC. Let's see if this works. Okay, so again, if bash RC, then run its bash RC. And I want to expand my alias and run it here, export it afterwards, lol. because lol is an alias. Actually, we don't have to even do this part. We shouldn't have to do it. And let's see if we just run it right away. So bash lol, right? And we're good to go. And it seems like that is the right way to do it. Although, from all the things we've learned, it would be doing it every single time. Every single time we do a bash, it would make that new alias over and over again. Every single time. That new process, right? Which is something that is unintuitive for what it says in the documentation. Okay, so just letting you know. So it's going to run like this. And you can see now that but lol will work. La doesn't work. I can't type today. All right, so that's alias. We did that alias and an alias. I can take it away. Bash RC, it gives you this. Here's something else. This idea of setting. So here's it. It's done in the bash RC. Set. It says do not allow Control D. That's what this is, to log out. Ignore of. And set -O, no clobber. All right. Force the user to enter to write over existing files. So this, right? Because otherwise, if you just write greater than, it'll write over existing files. So you can add additional safeguards into your bash RC. Here it says set prompt to show working directory. This is something that you would have done for assignment number 1, right? If you really wanted to. So where \w \$, right? PS1 is that particular variable. Let's take a look at that. So if I say echo PS1, you can see that that is what we're getting. This is the pattern that we're getting for our directory structure, right? So if I say like Tom's prompt or whatever, or change the $sign to something else, like we wanted to do. So let's say here, you can see that the $sign is last, right? So here is the $sign, right? So if I wanted to change that PS1 to something totally different, let's do that. So we'll say that we'll do it temporarily. So we'll say PS1 is equal to square brackets, and just like it says here, /w working directory and /$. Okay, so instead of /$, we'll use a hashtag, hashtag instead. So /w, right, and then after this, the square brackets, right, /hashtag. And now you can see that it didn't do things the way I did it, but you can see that I have this all the time. Let's try it again. So we'll go and change it again. So PS1 is equal to square bracket. Let's do the other things that it had. U at H and then /w square brackets hashtag. Oh, /hashtag. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Hashtag $PS1. Yeah, I think I did everything correct. Anyway, but you get the idea. PS1, if you look it up, let's take a look at that. So if I look up, that's a global variable. So again, if I say something like bash PS1 examples, that's a good one. So here's some examples to make my command prompt nicer. It just gives you right here. So /u is the username, /h is hostname, /w is full path to the current working directory, right, as an example. So PS1 is equal to this in quotes, right, and greater than sign for the end. So let's try this. So @ and then @ is the @ sign, the home directory, and then /w, and then this symbol right here. So this is, remember, we can use square brackets or quotes. So let's try this again. So I'll copy this and I'll go back to this and we'll do it again. We'll say paste, and then press enter. And now you can see that we have this greater than sign every single time instead of that. What about if I wanted the local time, right? Is there a function for local time? And I really enjoy having the local time as a timestamp, like something that looks like this. Well, then you can use date, right? And then it gives you some information about date. For example, hour, minute, and second. That's what this does in military time. So hour, minute, second for date. This is a pretty good pattern as well. I like that a lot. And you can also color it. So I want to do one of these. Let's say. So paste. And now we have the date every single time and the hour. So every time. I like that a lot of times in my command line because it's nice to know the timestamp and it gives me the date. I don't have to look around for what time it is. All right. So that's not a bad way of doing it instead. And if you don't like the greater than sign, or if you want it colored or anything like that, there's lots of little things online, to change stuff around. Status of the last command, did it work, and so on. Change the foreground color of the prompt. You can do that as well, and a bunch of other ones. Okay, so tons and tons of little examples on how to make your command prompt look nice. So if you had done assignment 1 properly, then you would have maybe looked here. Some of you did, some of you didn't. It is what it is. Okay, so that's this. I told you that was the one thing that you had to kind of look up on your own. Okay, trap is interesting, right? So again, a trap is like, I like to call it like almost like if there's an error. What it does is it captures that error, and then it kind of expands that error, and it tells us there's an issue. So in this case, if, for example, there's a problem, then I want to exit with a status code of 0, right? 0 meaning the completion of a shell script has occurred, right? So that's what this means. Okay. The test command, we kind of briefly talked about this. It's used to analyze an expression to determine if it's true, and it's often used in shell scripts to verify the environmental conditions, such as the extension of a file. And it's basically a search criteria, so if the actual thing exists, then you're good to go. If it doesn't exist, it won't do the command. So if test so-and-so, this thing works, then do it, right? Otherwise, don't do it. Also, one thing that we can also put into place is when we do relational integer tests with the test command, you can use equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal, or not equal, right? So these are all the little things that you can use, these options, right? So here's an example of test A is equal to B. These two things are equal. Test A is greater than B, and so on. Okay? And we want to do this a lot of times because we can't use, for test, you can't use greater than sign or less than sign. It might be misinterpreted, and so that's why they created these shorthands for the different conditions. Okay? So again, if my value, this is a great example of that. If my value is 17, test my value is equal to 17. Echo, and then $? 0. $? is where that condition gets stored, the last thing that got stored, and $? Basically says it worked. So because the value is 17, all right. So if we were to try this, and if the value wasn't 17, let's try this out. I think it's a good exercise. So let's go back to this. And let's say that my value is equal to 26, right? And just like it did before, let's bring up that piece of code. Test is the first keyword that you use. You test a value and then -eq for equals. Okay, so test value, right? Equals 20, let's say. All right, and it doesn't return anything. You're like, wait, what happened? But what you want to do, right, is you want to echo this ? And ? Is where the result is stored. And the results is exactly what it said here, up above, where was it? Here. Where 0 is the completion of a shell script has occurred, 1 is a hang up or log out signal has been issued. In other words, something bad happened. So, not good things. We want to look for a 0, usually, a lot of times. By the way, C++ works exactly like this. If you get a 0 exit code, that's good. If you get a 1 or some other value, well, that's bad, usually. Any other value is bad. So again, if I did it again, and I said 26, and then we did that test value, now you're going to get a value of 0, which is a good positive error condition. That's going to be good. And then you can test for that. If $? 0, right, is equal to 0, then you're good to go, and you can do that in the script. So you can test to see if something is true or not, and then or equal to, greater than, or whatever, and then from there you can create a an error condition. You can look at the error condition. Okay, so we went through this a little bit, getting through it. We're almost done actually, which is a really great thing. And then next day we'll do a bit of an exercise for you guys, maybe a little lab. Okay, so the test command, and there's all these different options that you can use. True if a file exists and can be read. So again, this is kind of interesting. Again, these are great. So if you're testing strings, and so it's broken out separately. So if I'm testing a string and -z is test for a 0 length string, is the string 0 length or not, which is really great. Okay. So in many ways, this is better than an if condition because it tests specific things. For a non-zero string length, it can test that. Strings for equality, inequality, and so on. It also does things like it looks at a file name, true if a file exists, and is a block special file. Block special file is for a specific device, in this case, such as a disk or tape drive. C if it's a character special file. Again, that's a type of device. -D if the file exists and is a directory. -E if the file exists. So that's pretty cool. So check to see if a file exists. Test -E file name. That's a great thing. True if a file exists and is a regular file. So it's not executable necessarily, right? And so on. Yeah, lots of really great stuff, and I think that's why the test command is really, really awesome. And they talk about booleans. You can add two things, and or. So -A is and, -O is or, and then the bang character or exclamation mark is not, as an example. So here's an example. So test my expression 1 -A and then expression 2. Test these two expressions to make sure that they're good. And you can use the above expressions in combination to do that. All right. I think I'd like to stop there when it comes to this. I want to talk about some advanced scripting on Thursday when we get together. And again, like I said, I'll release your quiz probably later on tonight or tomorrow. All right, so you'll have a chance. I'll put up a little announcement for you guys. But more or less what this is going to do is cover the stuff that we covered last day, not today, in the quiz. And then maybe remember that next week from a plan perspective, because we're right now at week 5, right? This is where we are right now. And we're supposed to be talking about bash scripting. Next week, your assignment 2 is due. I have to mention that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about admin services, SSH, FTP, as well as I wanted to talk about how to connect different things. So before I let you guys go, I'm not going to add anything else today for this one. I wanted to show you a little bit of another VM because we have time, a few minutes, and that's all it'll take. I'm going to exit this and shut this down. Let's power this off. So, did I restart? No. Okay, good. So there's also VMware, and guys, you have access to get VMware Workstation Pro for free because you guys go to Centennial College. If you're a student, then you have access to get professional tools like this. So it's not just using things like VirtualBox. And the way to go there is if you go to E5 on the hub. If I go to E5 on the hub, right? Yes, I did mean this. And not a specific place. So if I went to E5 on the hub, E5 on the hub or on the hub basically allows you to pick up your different software for free. So you should know this already. Hopefully, do you guys know this one already? So I don't have to waste your time. Yes or no? X for no, check mark for yes. No. Wow, I'm getting no's. That's bad. You guys should know this. So if I click on find my school, so if I go college or university, right, and I specify a country like Canada, state, Ontario, and my school, you'd have to type in. So let's say, for example, if I type in Centennial College, not texted them, it's this one, Centennial College. And then the department were C-tests, right? This one, I set C-tests, okay? And then you can see that there's all these little programs we get for, you know, being students. We're allowed to download and install stuff. Sometimes we get discounts. Other times, you know, we get them for free. So if I click on this link, Centennial College Applied Arts and Engineering C-tests web store, if I click on that link, it's going to take me here. It's going to ask you to sign in, right? So if you sign in properly, and I think it's going to remember who I am. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Let's see. Nope. But anyways, if you log in to your web store properly, what it does is it gives you free software. It just won't remind me. I have to look up my password a bit. And usually I believe, if not wrong, it's your I don't think it's this one. I think it's the other one. That's my take on it. I think it's the it's not the network password. Let me just check just to see if that's true. Probably not, but if so, we'll know. If it's this password, then it'll know. No, it's not. It must be 300818557. If I'm not wrong. Let's try that one. Yeah. I don't remember which one it is. But anyways, if you log in with the proper credentials, not like me, right, then you get a list of software. And if I go back a step, let's go back a step to E5 on the hub, which is this. You can see that in here, there's a ton of different kind of software that you can get access to. And of course, it's not going to give us this, but let's look at Essentials. And if I type for something, for example, let's say if I go to VMware, now if I'm not wrong, you guys get VMware Fusion or Workstation for free. And it's not VMware Workstation 12, it's Workstation 15 or something like that for free. So it's available to faculty and staff. And when you do, you can download and install VMware. It's pretty good. It's pretty sweet, actually. Anyway, so here's me using VMware Workstation Pro. You get it for a year. So one of the things you're going to notice is going to say you got 378 days left or whatever, if I was going to use this thing. So if I go to home, it's going to say, yeah, you've got 374 days left in my license, right? But here's Fedora. I just took the backup of my Fedora and installed it here. And if I power on this virtual machine, it looks a little bit different. But the advantage of using VMware, a professional tool like this, is that it has a lot more features than VirtualBox. So I wanted to kind of mention this to you as another place that you want maybe to explore how to download and install. And again, I like VirtualBox because it's free and it's open source. But I really like VMware for the features it has, because it has a lot of different things that you can do that out of the box VirtualBox cannot do, right? And I'm going to show you this in a second. One of the things that VMware allows you to do is allocate different kinds of resources. For example, video resources. Remember, I couldn't even run Blender in VirtualBox, but here, using VMware, you're going to see that I can run Blender, no problem. Now, there's still issues. It's not perfect. It doesn't run like Blender should run. My all caps. There we go. But performance-wise, it's really awesome in terms of overall, like the actual performance of the virtual machine. I find it doesn't crash as much in general, right? So if I go here, you can see here I've got Blender, and like I said, there'd be no way I could run Blender in VirtualBox, typically, right? But here, I'm able to run a 3D program to some degree of usability, right here in Virtual and VMware, and there's no way that I could do this in other ways, right? Like, no chance, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the stuff that you can do with a free virtual machine is pretty awesome, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the ability for you to modify things in 3D in a virtual machine is amazing, and you can keep your environment clean as opposed to installing stuff in your regular Windows environment. If you want to try out an app, you can certainly try something, and there's a lot of Linux apps that are available cross-platform. So that's what I wanted to show you really quickly. I know that's not a lot, but really at the end of the day, it's just Fedora, but running here in VMware as opposed to running in VirtualBox. Okay, so take a look at VMware when you have a chance. If you are going to install VMware as an example and run everything in VMware instead of, and here it's telling me that I could have installed different devices, which is cool. I mean, I can install my microphone and all this other stuff, which I'm not going to do. But I mean, if you wanted to use VirtualBox or VMware, you know, as an example, in the second half of semester, I'm totally cool with you using each, because in the second half of semester when we start doing Python, sometimes you need something a little bit more robust to run things, and VirtualBox might be okay, but VMware might be better, right? So I'm not going to force you to do it, and I don't want you spending any money. This is, if you can't get your free software, your hands on your free software, and I just can't remember my passcode, then don't do it. You know, there's no need for you to do this. I think VirtualBox does 90% of everything we want to do, well, except for Blender or something weird like that. But unless you're doing some kind of, and by the way, I don't recommend Blender in a virtual machine anyway. Right? I'm telling you it can be done. Okay. Questions around anything we've talked about so far today? So again, I think I've covered most of what you need now for your assignment number 2. I don't think there's much left. I just want to cover advanced scripting techniques on Thursday, and then we're good to go with scripting. Okay, any other questions? Guys, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. I will see you on Thursday, and look out for that that quiz. And meanwhile, I'll get all your marking done for assignment 1. You'll be all up to date, and as we approach the end of the first half of the semester, we should have everything good to go. All right? Thank you so much for being patient with me. And everything else this semester. I know this has been a different experience for everybody as we move into this distance learning model, but I think you guys have all doing fairly good for what you guys are doing. All right, thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you guys next day. I'm going to stop streaming now, and I'll stick around